You love me, you hate me, you'll never forget me, because it's me, it's Save MGS, aka Slade, aka a lot of things. I am here today to discuss one and one thing only. Let's play fantasy matchup. Okay, I've always wondered what would happen if these two competitors met in their prime. I'm talking about Ken Shamrock and Forrest Griffin. See, these two could have never met in their physical primes. I mean, by the time Forrest was on the way up to the UFC, Ken was 40 or 39 at that time. I mean, there was just no way they ever could have met. And even if they didn't meet in the UFC at that time, Forrest was very young and Ken was an older guy. I mean, you would never have known who would have won in their prime. But I'm just gonna give you, my analysis of what I think would happen. So let's get started. If Ken fought Forrest Griffin, Ken would not have his quickness advantage. It's his most dangerous and deadly weapon at heavyweight. I mean, Ken relied on his speed so much, it was ridiculous. I mean, Ken was also great at getting in the inside of strikers like Pat Smith, Boss Rutten, Marie. Crap, I'm just disrespecting Mo Smith today. He got in the inside of Mo Smith and whatnot. And wow, I sound like an idiot, but whatever. I mean, he was able to stand with Rich Franklin. I mean, he got knocked out in that fight. He did very well with Tito on the feet. He actually outstruck him a couple times, almost knocked him out. He was able to strike with Pedro Hezo. You know how that ended. Yeah, I don't want to talk about that. I mean, say what you want about Ken and personally make fun of him and his ability to perform at his age today, but, in this prime, Ken was no joke. I mean, he posed a legitimate threat to anybody who stood across from him. I mean, Forrest Griffin's no exception. Hell, Anderson Silva's no exception. Fedor is no exception. I'm not saying that Ken would beat Fedor or Anderson Silva. I'm just saying, they would have to watch their P's and Q's. I mean, you know what, let's just get into their comparisons from who I think is better where. Forrest Griffin versus Ken Shamrock comparison time. Submissions. Forrest has a lot of good submission wins. I mean, he's really never submitted anybody of a high grappling caliber. I mean, he submitted Mauricio Shogun Hera. I mean, he was able to... I believe he submitted Jeff... No. He won a decision against Jeff Munson. I mean, he's really never been able to submit a who's of guys. I mean, he did submit Bill Mahud, and most of you probably only know who Bill Mahud is. I believe Bill Mahud's last fight was against Shannon Rage, and I think he won that fight. But Bill Mahud is no elite level grappler. I mean, nobody's Forrest has fought as an elite level grappler. I mean, actually, Forrest has never tapped the elite level grappler. I mean, he has fought elite level grapplers like Forrest. I mean, Forrest has fought elite level grapplers like Chael Sonnen, who's not really a submission guy. He did lose to Jeremy Horn. He's able to compete with high level grapplers. I mean, Elvis Sinasix is a good grappler. But he's really never been able to tap these guys out. Well, he did tap out Chael, but Chael gets tapped by everyone. He knows how to throw up a triangle choke. But in this category, I mean, you have to give this to Ken Shamrock. I mean, Ken's resume of submission wins, it speaks for itself. I mean, out of, I believe, 28 of his wins, 23 or 22 of those were by submissions. I mean, Ken submitted a who's of guys back in the day. He tapped Dan 7. He was on his way to tapping out Horace Gracie if time didn't expire. He tapped out Boss Wynn. Most of you think of Boss as a striker, but him himself has 13 wins by submission, so 14. I mean, Ken's grappling accomplishments are no jokes. I mean, he submitted Funaki. He dominated Japan at the time, and those were where all the elite level grapplers were. And he was able to make them look like children when it came to submissions. I mean, it was just kind of embarrassing when you saw Ken fight one of those guys. I mean, these guys were very good competitors too. But Ken I don't want to say Anderson silvered them, because he really never played around like Anderson did, like Anderson did in the Forrest Griffin fight, or the Stephan Bonner fight. But Ken was able to make them look like they had no idea what they're doing. So, when it comes to submissions, I mean, you really have no choice but to give this to Ken. Now let's get to the hands. Both men aren't very good strikers or kickers. I mean, if anything, Forrest has the advantage on the feet. Just because he's a bit more versatile. I mean, Ken was a extremely underrated striker. By extremely underrated striker, I mean, he was decent on the feet. Everybody's just thought of Ken as a brawler and a leg lock guy, but just watch his stand-up fight game. Even in fights he lost at the end of his career, you could tell he knew what he was doing. But I'm just gonna give the advantage to Forrest because he's a more proven commodity on the feet and has actually finished quite a few people standing. Okay, let's get down to the takedowns. There's really no way you can't give this to Ken. He took down Dan 7. He took down Olympic gold medalists. He took down all the best fighters in Pancrase. I mean, he's just that good of a wrestler when it comes to offensive wrestling. So, you just have to give this to Ken. I mean, sure, Forrest has shown decent takedowns, I believe he took Rampage down a couple of times. He took Rich Franklin down. I believe he even took Stephan Bonner down in their second fight, and in their first. And sure, Forrest has mediocre wrestling at best. Offensive wrestling, I should say. So, this just goes Shamrock all the way. Now, when it comes to takedown defense, defensive wrestling, defensive grappling, this is where Forrest really shines. I mean, Forrest has been able to defend submissions by very good fighters. I mean, Jeremy Horn wasn't able to submit him. Elvis Sinister couldn't submit him. I mean, all for one reason. They could not take Forrest down. Now, sure, Jeremy Horn knocked out Forrest, but I was just discussing the grappling. I mean, Tito even had a hard time taking Forrest down. So, I'm just gonna give this category to Forrest. I mean, you can't say, oh, but Ken out-wrestled Dan 7, who's an Olympian. I mean, was able to defend Dan 7's takedown, he's an Olympian. No, Ken charged towards Dan 7 and tried taking him down. He wasn't waiting for Dan 7 to shoot on him. So, you just have to give the advantage in this category to Forrest. Now let's go to the quickness. Who's quicker? Honestly, I think they're about the same. They're both very quick men for their size. I mean, Ken may be a tad bit faster, but I'm not sure on that. So I'm just gonna say it's a draw. Now the strength advantage, this is clear cut. There's no doubt that Forrest Griffin is a very strong man. If I tried wrestling with him, he'd throw me out a friggin' window. But Ken is stronger, plain and simple. I mean, Ken outmuscled Mark Corman's training and made him look like a child. Ken threw Frank Shamrock around like a child. Ken threw a lot of people while he was competing around like a child. Ken is just super strong for his size. I mean, honestly, I think with that much power, I mean, he'd be able to give most heavyweights today a one for the money in the strength department, no doubt. So let's get on to this. Who has the better chin? Now, Ken was not knocked out until he was deep into his late 30s and mid-40s. I mean, Ken demonstrated a chin that was made out of steel. Not iron, but steel. I mean, sure, Ken could be dented, but Ken's chin has been shown to hold up under any circumstance. I mean, even in the fights he was knocked out in, he never really got a one-hitter quitter. I mean, we've seen Forrest Griffin get one-hitter quitter before. I mean, just look at some of his fights with, just look at the Mauricio Shogun Hira fight, the second one. The Keith Jardine fight. The Rashad Evans fight. I mean, look at the Jeremy Horn fight. This man is susceptible to getting one-headed critted. That's just something that Ken has really never, shown that weakness. So I'm just gonna give the advantage to Kenny. I mean, you can't say that Ken really didn't fight the caliber of fighters that Forrest was fighting. Even though he did fight most of the people Forrest fought. He did fight Dan Severn, Tito Ortiz, and Rich Franklin, but whatever. So, on to the next category. Stylistic and reach advantage. Honestly, I think Ken has a style suited to winning this fight. I mean, he has better wrestling. He'll inevitably take Forrest down, and Forrest has nothing off his back to deal with Ken. I mean, just nothing. So, Forrest might throw up a triangle or something, but I have no doubt in my mind that Ken would never get caught in that. I mean, Ken's been submitted by only the best rappers in the world, and Mario and Funaki. I mean, those were really the only, and Hoist Gracie, those are the only three people who've ever tapped out Ken. I mean, no one else has even come close. Tito couldn't do it, Rich Franklin couldn't do it, and Rich Franklin had Ken in a go-go party. Ken just went, nope. And I don't think Forrest would have any ability at all to catch Ken from his back. I mean, I think Ken would just take him down, beat him up, beat him up to a decision if it's a 3-round bout. If it's a 5-round bout, I think he eventually finishes Forrest. But I'm making this sound very uncompetitive. But Forrest definitely has to toss the hard Ken at bay for a while. He'd be able to outstrike him for a while. He wouldn't be taken down for a while. But the problem is, Forrest just does not have the power to put Ken away. And there's no way Forrest is taking him down and walking a top position grappling game. I mean, I did say Forrest has the advantage to take down defense. But Ken would be so offensive with his wrestling that Forrest would never even contemplate trying to take him down. So, eventually Ken would just win out in this fight. I mean, in a 3-round fight, Forrest's chances of of winning goes up quite a bit. Ken doesn't have the time to make him tired, and Forrest might be able to keep him at bay for the first 2 rounds and outstrike Ken. But eventually Forrest's cardio would fail, Ken would drag him to the mat and just smash him. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that's how it would go down. So, if anyone disagrees with me, just comment. Tell me what you think would happen. I mean, I'm not sure what else I can really discuss here. Well, actually, yeah, let me talk about the size differences in this fight. I mean, I've already said that I think Ken would win, but why not just go over this? Okay, Ken is 6'1" to 6 foot tall. That's all I've ever really seen. Is one of those two numbers. And at his absolute peak during his career, he was 245 pounds, man. I mean, if you stack that Ken next to Forrest today, even though that Ken's 245 and Forrest walks around at 230, Forrest looks like the much bigger fighter in this scenario. So, yeah. Let's get to the reach advantage. Forrest Griffin has a 77-inch reach, man. Ken has a 66.5 reach. As I said, that reach advantage could really help Forrest if it's a 3-round fight, keep Ken at bay. If Forrest can keep Ken at bay for those 2 rounds, Forrest has the opportunity of winning this, no doubt. But I don't think that would happen. And if it's a 5-round fight, Ken's chances of winning just skyrocket. Stylistically, Ken Shamrock his style varied over the course of his career. I mean, during his prime, he was known as an explosive grappler with excellent speed, power, and agility, and incredible physical strength. I mean, former UFC champions like Maurice Smith, Mark Corman, Guy Meska have all said that Ken Shamrock was like a caged animal. I mean, like an animal in physical strength. I mean, there's just no doubt that Ken was the stronger fighter in this situation. Now let's get to Forrest's size. He is 6'3". He has a 1 to 2 inch height advantage on Ken. He walks around at 230. He has a much bigger reach than Ken at 77 inches. We've gone over that. Both of their stances, they both use the orthodox stance. They're both right-handed. And that's basically it. I mean, if there's any way you can really think of a way for Forrest to win this fight, besides the way I said he would, which is, keeping Ken at bay for 2 rounds in a 3-round fight, go ahead, comment. If you think I'm completely wrong, tell me how I'm completely wrong. Go for it. But, I'm gonna end this video right now, because I'm just rambling on. So peace out, have a nice day, and remember, until we meet again,